Hello and welcome to Chaotic Riff TV. My name is Jason J. Rock Houston. Our special guest for today is Y&T bassist Aaron Leigh. How you doing tonight, Aaron?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me, Jay.
Yeah, I gotta thank your publicist Jody for setting this up because I wasn't too aware of who you were until she sent me a press release on you, and I think it's pretty cool because I was checking out some of your solo tracks and I'm digging what I'm hearing. So hopefully when people see this interview and other interviews I'm sure you'll be doing to support the new single, which is called Bahia Sunshine. Hopefully more people will be checking that stuff out too, because man, I tell you, what a gifted all-around musician, songwriter. I think the songwriting, I think, really speaks volumes.
Wow. Well, I'm bowled over. Thank you for the kind words, man. That's yeah, with the new single and in my past work, my past solo stuff, it's just a labor of love. It just happens. It comes out as artists do. It's we do this because we love it.
Yeah,
I don't have any expectations of some
sure, sure.
grandeur. It's just basically I'm just doing what I would do anyway. So
Yeah,
I just like to get it out there and let people hear it. You
and the
know.
single comes out on the 28th. And let me just say, it's kind of to me, a good feel pop rock tune, a good summer song. Um, I think it's nice and upbeat, so people are going to dig it for that reason alone. Talk a little bit about the song. I mean, right off the bat, I love the title, Bahia Sunshine. I'm like, what is that, Bahia? Is that like a feeling or?
You know, it's an interesting. The only thing I can really give away about the title or the lyrics really is a matter of it, when I was about 5 years old, I knew of this little girl around my age.
Mm.
Her name was Bahia, and
Oh,
it just
wow.
throughout my life, I always thought that was a really pretty name for a girl. Come to find out, it's an actual place in Brazil. I didn't know that until after I
Interesting.
wrote the song. So
Yeah.
maybe I can get a new anthem, placed in some state in Brazil. Who knows?
I mean,
Uh,
yeah. I mean,
but
when you hear names like that, they stand out. They're kind of standalone names, and you're like, oh, well, how did they come up with that? Yeah. Are you there, Aaron?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
it's just
Yeah.
yeah,
Go ahead. Go ahead.
kind of getting glitchy here.
Okay.
Um,
I
so
was just,
anyway,
yeah, yeah,
let's get. I was going to make a point with the lyrics and the title. The title it was just the name itself, and then the sunshine at the end. I just want to add a little color to it. It just
yeah,
sounded rolled out nice, and the
yeah.
lyrics. The lyrics
Eh,
are just really based on some imagery, to provoke a image in your mind, or your just to get you thinking about something
yeah.
that's not something maybe you think about every day, but uh, yeah, more of an approach like a Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds kind of a lyrical approach.
Yeah, yeah, I urge people to go on your Facebook page. There's a little teaser clip of the song, and I think it does a great job because I checked out the teaser for it, and it left me like wanting to hear more. So I'm like, I'm definitely checking out the whole song come the 28th. But you got a real
Great.
interesting story too, because again, I was reading for example that you come from San Jose, California. When you were growing up, I don't imagine there was much of a music scene there, or was there?
There was for a short period when in the 80s, when I was in a glam band,
Okay.
wearing the makeup and the big hair,
Yeah.
there was a lot of places to play. There was an actual scene. It was sort of like, I mean, not on the scale of like Hollywood,
Sure,
but I
sure.
mean, there was still, you had San Francisco, you had Oakland, there was venues to play. And so there was sort of a scene in the late 80s, early 90s, and then it just faded away.
Yeah, yeah,
And yeah, so like with a lot of places, you got your
yeah.
time, it's come and gone.
Now I was reading very early on about, I think you were 5 years old. The first thing you started doing was playing the drums. Talk a little bit about that because you ultimately grow up become a bass player. So you think starting out on the drums helped to make you a decent bass player?
Yeah, I think it helps me out to be better than a decent bass player.
Well, I guess what I'm asking is, typically, the drummer and the bass player have a rhythm section of the band. So I guess the fact that you can do both, or that you start out on the drums and you ultimately would move up to bass, do you think that helped you any?
Absolutely, because I can identify with what the drummer I almost, I feel like I can get a little more of a symbiotic relationship going on with a drummer because I kind of come from that world as well. So yeah, it definitely lends to the bass playing.
Yeah, and another guy I understand you were influenced by, which is way before your time. In fact, so much so that he's the guy that influenced the legendary Carmine of Peace, is Buddy Rich. I mean, I urge people go on YouTube, just type in Buddy Rich, and you'll be amazed at the stuff that comes up. I mean, he was more than just a drummer. He was a true showman.
He was a showman. He was an innovator. He was,
Yeah,
ahead of his time. A major influence to some of the greatest drummers of the
sure,
generation.
sure, sure,
So yeah, when I had that image of the television with him playing on it, it definitely sparked something in me to want to
sure. Should
try to
do it.
attempt to play.
Yeah, yeah. And another one of your solo tracks I was checking out, July Judy. Now, again, another interesting track. Just the title alone, I'm wondering, was there a Judy in your life? Is it just kind of title you came up with?
Well, actually that's a cover
Oh,
of an
okay.
old Fleet. It's an old Fleetwood Mac song from 1970,
Wow, wow.
and
Okay.
it was before the Stevie Nicks and Lindsey Buckingham era. They were more of a blues based band. It was
Yeah, yeah.
Danny Kerwin and Jeremy Spencer that were in the group at the time. Um, and when I was a very small child, my mom used to play that record, Kiln House. And I just remember that song July Judy just stuck with me as got etched in my brain. I've always
I
loved the
imagined it
song.
would. I mean, your version is pretty rocking, and I listened to your version, and it almost kind of reminds me of kind of like a Cheap Trick song, a little edgy, like kind of a punk influence Cheap Trick.
Yeah, I could kind of hear that. Yeah, I kept the song pretty close to the original, except just the guitars are heavier,
Yeah.
and just a different production, of course. But yeah, it was just an influence that I had, and just wanted to see what I could do with it, put a twist on it.
Yeah. And so, what was the time in your life? How old were you when you decided, you know what? I think I want to move over to bass.
I was around 14 because there was other musicians in my neighborhood that were better than me on drums or guitar. So I just kind of by default we wanted to make a band, when we were kids,
Sure,
and
sure.
and I just picked up the bass, and that was soon after I picked up a bass is when I discovered Y&T and Iron Maiden and Rush and all these things, and it just the bass really popped out for me, and it just drove it home that this is what I should do.
And then what was the point when you started writing your own original? I asked that because I mean, like I was curious, like when you're first starting out and you're first learning to play the bass at that point, you're 14 years old. Do you mainly start writing your own tunes, or is it just about kind of mastering your craft as a bass player at that point?
Both, because you're learning at the same, it's like a parallel
Yeah,
universe
yeah,
going. You're
yeah,
learning
yeah.
your craft as an instrumentalist,
Sure,
but at
sure,
the same time, if you're in a band, if you have arrangement skills, or you got a way to get riffs out or something, then all of a sudden now you're writing songs in the band. So I was doing that kind of at the same time all along because I was always in some sort of band when I was a kid
sure,
growing up.
sure.
Yeah.
And the reason I ask is like I urge anybody to go on YouTube or your Facebook page and check out your tunes. I know you got an EP out. It's pretty solid stuff, and like I said, the songwriting is really strong. But you're also a very gifted vocalist, and that's why I'm asking all this. I was curious. Always know that you had the ability to sing, or was it more of well, these are my songs, and so I think I can sing them better than having somebody else sing my songs.
Well, when it comes to my most recent solo material, it's basically at a default that
Yeah, yeah.
I'm singing and playing everything. So, you know, I guess I was always in a band playing
Sure,
bass,
sure,
and I
sure.
always thought that we needed a front man, and I always
Yeah,
thought that we needed a singer, or someone that can really devote uh, something as a vocal thing, a
yeah,
presence kind
yeah,
of thing
yeah.
in a band, right? And I usually found some pretty good singers to do that with, and then it just came to a point where I thought, well, you know, if I can't depend on myself, who can I depend on?
That's why I'm asking because a lot of people have that same story. And I was reading also you're influenced by people like every from Kiss, the Beatles, Bowie, and especially Kiss and the Beatles are two great examples of a band can have more than one great lead singer.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, so out of just sort of default now is just I uh if I ever have the chance to write with Y&T, well, then of course Dave Meniketti singing the songs.
Oh, sure, sure, no doubt. That's why it's fun to kind of do your own thing on the side. And how surprised have you been about the way people have reacted? Like you said, it's kind of out of necessity as far as you singing the tracks, but have you been surprised pleasantly about how people have reacted to the songs?
Yeah, well, no, not really surprised. See, here's the thing. When it comes to releasing music these days, it's really hard to get ears on it. And that's a lot of the reason that I'm talking to you right now is
Yeah,
just to
yeah,
try to
sure.
get the word out. So it just comes down to it's hard to get music heard.
Hmm.
So when someone does say, "Oh, I heard the song and I liked it," it's like, "Well, thank you. God, thanks for
Yeah,
listening," is the first thing
sure,
I
sure,
say. Thank you for listening because I know that there's so much music out there. I mean, I'm one guy right now out of
sure, sure.
tens of thousands that are releasing songs on on July 28th, you
Yeah.
know? So I'm aware of that and it'll, I'm not expecting much,
Oh,
but
good.
it's just one of those things. It's just the evil of putting music out
Yeah.
when there's so much of it out there and anyone can make it now, you
Yeah, I
know?
mean, I love that attitude. You kind of, I feel the gratitude, and the thing with that is, like you mentioned, being Y&T, and so it's great that you get to do this other stuff on the side. And again, it makes sense that you could write a bunch of tunes and have it sound like Y&T type of rock music, but why do that? You're already in Y&T, you know what I mean? So you'd hope you do something a little different.
Yeah, yeah. Well, are you speaking of my music opposed to
Well, just in
Y&T
general,
music?
I mean, anybody. I mean, like, I mean, I get that Y&T is a thing that pays the bills, but it's fun that you can do this on the side. And I'm just saying is, if anybody expects you to, oh, he's a bass player from Y&T, so his music's going to sound just like Y&T. I think that's kind of, maybe to be expected, kind of boring. So I dig the fact that you're doing your own thing.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and that's what some people would, I guess, expect it to be this really hard rock stuff. But yeah, I'm more influenced by stuff that's
Yeah.
really geared around a song, like I said, the Beatles, Bowie, Prince, it's about songs. And I'm
Yeah.
not saying that Y&T doesn't have
No,
amazing
no,
songs because
no.
they do. Every song is
Sure,
amazing,
sure.
but there's the hard rock genre, the hard rock element to that music. And like a song like Bahia Sunshine would, I don't know how that would even meet up, you know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
yeah.
If I was to introduce a song like that to those guys. But so yeah, it is definitely different. It's a different sound and vibe. But I know for a fact if I got in a room with everyone and had some riffs, everyone would start to gel it and bring it
Yeah.
together as their own, then it would be that hard rock
Yeah.
sound.
It's all right. It's a good sound, and all those bands we've mentioned throughout the interview that you're influenced by, one thing they all have in common is like besides writing great songs is they got that's just the thing. Any band worth its you know worth anything, they got great songs with hooks and stuff and things people remember. Great lines in the songs. I mean, a band like Kiss, they always get trash, and people say, "Oh, they're not the world's greatest musicians." But if you have no talent and you're not great musicians, you don't have a career that lasts 50 years. I mean, they got how many songs that we've heard on the radio constantly? Rock and Roll All Night, Lick It Up, Beth, Forever. I mean, I can go on and on. That's just
Yeah.
one band.
No, that's a great example that they have songs that hold up over the test of time. But I got to hand it to Gene Simmons, man. I mean,
Yeah.
he's not only one of the greatest showmen on earth, but his bass playing too. The way that he incorporated some of these bass lines, he's so underrated.
Oh, yeah,
And
totally agree. And
yeah,
I love it. One thing I've always loved about Kiss is, like I said, they got four guys in the band that can sing. Um,
mhm.
and so you don't get bored with the same sound, and that's why a band like Kiss has lasted 50 years because they can do everything from Heaven's on Fire to Beth, or Let's Put X and Sex. There's a little something for everybody.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah,
one of my faves, man. One of my favorites, that's
yeah,
for sure.
yeah. And now you mentioned Y&T, that you're part of that, and Y&T is one of those legendary bands, as you know, from the Bay Area. They've been doing it many, many years, and they're still around doing it. So we tip our hat to Dave Meniketti and all of you guys.
Absolutely.
You may not have been there originally, but you're keeping it going. So we love you for that, Aaron. Talk a little bit about how you got the opportunity to join the band.
It's an interesting story. It just basically, I grew up in the Bay Area, so I was always a Y&T fan since I was 14, 15 years old. The local bands I was in throughout the years, we got to open for Y&T a few
Wow.
times, so I got to meet Dave a couple times, but I'm sure it was just in the passing kind of thing.
Sure, sure,
And then what had changed was when I got into Frank Hannon's solo band, Frank Hannon, the guitarist for
sure.
Tesla.
Tesla. Yeah,
Yeah, so when I got in his solo band, it sort of opened up obviously more doors, but it was within a circle of people. And
sure, sure.
The Menikettis, which was Dave and Jill, his wife, Frank was friends with, and I got to get to a closer, just in passing kind of
Oh, wow. Yeah,
relationship.
yeah,
And being on the Monsters of Rock cruise, I got to talk to Dave a little more, just in passing still. But when Brad was asked to leave the band or he quit or
whatever. Yeah,
however that played out, Dave, they reached out and, I guess I stuck in his head enough for them to, give me the shot to come down and audition. So
yeah. How cool is that? I mean, I was reading, on your page, in the bio section, you're talking about, it and you're like, man, to go from being a fan of the band, growing up with this band, to actually being up on the stage now with these guys and playing those songs I grew up on, that's got to be an amazing feeling.
it is an amazing feeling, and I feel very, very lucky and fortunate. And I mean, of any band I could have ended up in that genre from
Mhm.
that time period, not only is it one of my favorite bands, but one of the greatest hard rock catalogs of all time. And playing that music is like second nature to me because that's how I learned how to play music
Yeah,
was
yeah,
listening to Y&T songs, So it definitely was ingrained in me already. So I got very lucky to be in Y&T.
yeah, yeah. And like I was reading that you're a huge Y&T fan growing up, but specifically the album Black Tiger was one that really kind of did it for you. Talk a little bit about why that album means so much to you.
Well, because that was the first record that I got that, I'd ever heard Y&T,
Wow,
and
wow. Yeah, so I could get that. Yeah,
yeah, so I was pretty bowled over with that, blown away, and a thing that stuck out to me was that the bass, you can really hear the bass in the
sure, sure.
mix, it really popped out, and at the time, I was very attracted to that, and a lot like Iron Maiden, Steve Harris, you can
Sure.
hear that bass, it's right up front, and that's how Phil Kennemore's bass was. On those first few records. And so that made me want to play more
Yeah,
bass, was
yeah,
hearing that, I was like, oh, I
yeah,
wonder if I can play like that. So I started learning Y&T
yeah.
songs.
That's
Yeah.
and so many times, bass players will get like a bad run in the sense that people think, oh, bass players they're just failed guitar players. But you look at some of the ones you've mentioned. Another one comes to mind, like Geezer Butler. A lot of people are surprised to find out, besides being a great bass player, that he wrote all the lyrics on those Ozzy
Yeah.
era Sabbath albums. Come to find out, um, you know, Geddy Lee's another one. He can sing, play bass, do the keyboards all at the same time. I mean, oftentimes a bass player is kind of a secret weapon of a band.
Oh, I totally agree. And here's another example is Bob Daisley, who
Oh,
wrote
sure.
almost
Yeah.
all the Ozzy lyrics for
Yeah.
Ozzy's solo career. So, yeah, there's a lot of great bass players that contribute a lot more than just four strings.
Sure. Sure. I mean, a great example of that, Tom Peterson. I mean, he created the 12 string bass.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's his sound,
Yeah.
it's part of the Cheap Trick sound.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so what's next for Y&T? I mean, you guys I know are out there touring, but um, has there been any talk of maybe doing an album, or you don't know at this point?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, honestly,
Yeah. Yeah.
we can be sitting backstage sometimes and we float the idea and then we think, well, would it even matter?
Yeah.
Because Y&T already has so many great songs. You only have about 2 hours to play a night, right?
Yeah.
There's certain songs you gotta play, at every show, and then there's the interchangeable ones that we have a lot of fun with. So where would new music fit in?
Yeah, I mean, and then there's like you said, there's you're lucky if somebody even goes on your YouTube page and plays the song all the way through. Um, and there's that. I mean, I'm an old school guy. I still love to buy new music. I get it from a business standpoint, like you're saying. Okay, we put out any new music, is anybody going to even buy the thing? So I get that. But as far as when you guys do play live, um, does the whole band kind of take part in helping to create the set list, or is it kind of a set list of tunes you guys, like you said, have to play?
Dave is very generous when it comes to creating the set list. So he'll get the preliminary set list together and then, all right, guys, what do you think? And he throws it down. And so we're like, all right, well, what if we move that one here or we take that out? And hey, and then all of a sudden, like Mike, our drummer, will throw out, hey, let's do this one. And then John Nyman will throw out, let's do this one. Next thing you know, we're rewriting the set. So there's the good and bad to having so many great songs
Oh,
because
sure, sure.
you got to fit them in, right? But
And then it's like, which one do we leave out, right?
yeah. So, but we always end up having fun creating it, and Dave is very cool about letting everyone have a say in pretty much everything that goes on in the band. I gotta say, the Meniketis are some of the most generous and kind, and they give you a
Yeah,
lot of
yeah,
rope, a lot of rope to go. So it's
yeah.
great.
And
It's been great.
as far as Dave Minichetti, I know he was battling cancer, and from what I understand, that he's over better. How's he doing?
He's
Can you
doing
tell us?
great.
Yeah,
Great. Doctors gave him the green light. He's in remission.
that's great to hear.
And
Yeah,
he just actually got back recently from Italy, a 2-month vacation in Italy with his wife Jill, and much deserved because he's been through a lot in the last couple years.
oh
And
sure.
yeah, so he's ready to rock. We're going to be doing July 21st. We're going to be doing a Southern California run,
Yeah,
and that consists of 3 shows. And then we will, just continue on with some regional things uh, around California
yeah,
until the end of the year. And then we set off for finally some extensive touring in 24. And
yeah. And it's
which
great to hear he's doing so well because I mean, he's a sole original member, and you can imagine if anything happened to him. So thank God everybody's doing everything's well. I mean,
oh
thank
yeah,
God he's
absolutely. The band would be over.
well, no doubt. But I more than the band. I thank God he's so healthy. He's doing good because,
Absolutely. And
and
let me
I
say
say
this
that,
too. Let me say this.
yeah,
Not only is he healthy, but he sounds better than ever.
yeah,
Like the guy has not lost anything with his voice or his guitar playing. I mean,
yeah,
you see too many of these guys from that, genre and
yeah.
those years that just don't have it, man. And Dave has not lost a thing. He's still there. It's
I
all
mean,
good.
he may be the last standing original, but you know what? It's very much like Leonard Skinner. I mean, it's more about keeping the band going, the legacy. I think Y&T is one of those bands, much more than a band. It's a family. It's a legacy. And and so that's why so many
It
fans
is.
are still following you guys.
It's very true. It does seem like a Y&T family. Absolutely.
Because I said thank God he's doing good because that's honest God truth. And how many of our heroes recently have sadly died? I mean, you think of guys like Frankie Banali, for example. He put up a hard fight with cancer. Eddie Van Halen apparently battled cancer for 20 years and he finally lost the battle. So
Yeah.
it's so good that when you hear one of your heroes kind of goes through something like that and they come out the other side.
Yeah.
Yeah. And before I let you go, I just want to say that as far as anybody wants to get a hold of your solo CD or check out what you're doing, how's the best way they can do that?
Well, watch this. I'm going to do a screen change here.
Okay,
Let's see if this works. Bam. All right.
there
There
you
we
go.
go.
I love that. I love that.
AaronLeigh.com right here. All
Okay,
right. You can go to
beautiful,
AaronLeigh.com.
beautiful. And like I was listening to "Don't Tell Me," what's it called? "Don't Tell Me Goodbye." Tell me, great, beautiful tracks. And I urge people to check this stuff out because what I dug about the songs on the EP is all different sounding. It's hard to kind of pigeonhole you and say what you are. It's like if you like good music, I think you're gonna like Aaron Leigh.
Well, I really appreciate that, Jay, because
Yeah,
that's sort of how I think about the music I've been creating. It's
yeah.
it's just if you like good music, well, it's good. I got to
And
say
and
that much.
and so you kind of been released like a track at a time, I guess. But and you got the EP, but are any chance you're working towards a full length?
I don't know if people have patience to sit down and listen to a whole
I
full
got
length
you.
of
Yeah,
of anyone these days, honestly.
yeah,
But
yeah.
I will be putting out a physical copy of a new EP, which will include Bahia Sunshine, along with 3 other brand new songs, and one single that I'd put out in 21, I think it was, called "Live for Today." I'm going to put that on the physical CD as well. So
Oh,
I'll do
that's
like
great to hear
6.
because I'm kind of an old school guy. I get it, but I still love listening to new music, and so thank God there's artists like you and songwriters, Aaron, still creating new music. And I guess I could say like my biggest complaint is I would want a full length from you because the music's that good. But you know what? I think maybe you're smarter than I am because you always leave them wanting more, right?
Absolutely.
And I think you've accomplished that. It was great getting to know you, Aaron. Let's please keep in touch. And anytime you have anything to promote a new song, please feel free to reach out to me. And I'd love to have you back. The interview we just did should be going up sometime next week. I'll be sure to let you and Jody know when it goes up. And feel free to post on any of your sites if you want to share it or anything like that.
Will do. And thanks for your time, Jay. I really appreciate it.
Anytime. You take care, my friend. And
All
it
right.
was an
You
honor
too.
getting to know you. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye.